Welcome back to Capitol Review. I'm Mark Hall. We continue our coverage on if the United States should remain in Venezuela. Joining us once again is Republican strategist Colin Reed and Democratic strategist Ashwani Jain. The question, Colin, I have for you is, how does this military action square with Americans, especially those who support President Trump's America First agenda, especially with affordability issues here in this country?
Well, this isn't an either-or thing, Mark. America, under capable, competent leadership, is perfectly able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So it's very able and possible to have a dominance here in the Western Hemisphere, at home and abroad, and also a strong economy. And ultimately, these elections, as they always do, tend to swing on economic issues. And I expect to see the president and his party lean hard into those issues, especially as tax season approaches and people start to feel better about the size of their tax returns.
Ashwani, your response.
Well, when you look at the president's foreign policy behavior, there is a clear and dangerous pattern. He attacks America's institutions while cozying up to foreign regimes that flatter him. That's not America first, that is Trump first. He once called Qatar a funder of terrorism at the highest level and then embraced them once the perks started flowing in. He defended the Saudi crown prince even after his own CIA concluded that that prince approved the murder of a Washington Post journalist. Also, Trump did not end any wars, as evidenced further by his actions in Venezuela. And if anything, we are more unstable today, and voters are seeing that time and time again.
Well, Ashwani, if you and your party want to argue the world is more stable under President Biden than it was under President Trump on the international stage, good luck, because the world fell apart under President Biden. Everyone remembers that horrible scene in Afghanistan that was a direct result of his poor leadership. Right now, every evil dictator in this world is on their toes and wondering what's going to happen next, because they know there's someone at the switch who's not asleep, who's able to lead a country, and that's going to yield benefits. But ultimately, look, these elections, they always swing back to domestic issues and economic issues and how people feel about their financial well-being, and that's where we're going to start to see this conversation shift after the events of this week.
And Colin, staying with you, the president recently addressed Republicans, and he talked about the importance of keeping the majority in the House in the upcoming midterms, or he will face impeachment. Your reaction?
Well, he's not the only one saying that. You've seen members of the Democratic Party already suggest impeaching President Trump for his actions this week. So he's right. They've telegraphed their playbook. They've done it before. They'll do it again. And that's why the importance of these elections is so important. And but look, I think, and maybe this is a point of common ground my colleague here and I can agree on, I do think it's incumbent on the Democratic Party to offer themselves not just as a check and balance on the party in charge, but also put forward a vision of their own. What are they going to do when they get in charge? Because right now, all you see is reflexive opposition and investigations. And now we're talking about impeachment, and I think people are looking for a little bit more serious leadership during serious times than just blanketly opposing the guy in charge.
Ashwani?
Well, Trump's comments tells you everything, that this presidency is about protecting himself, not the country. And let's be clear, our democracy is under real threat. Trump has attacked the rule of law, encouraged political violence, and even members of his own inner circle have warned that he is dangerous. But here's the truth from my party. We're not just losing because of Republican extremism, we're losing because too many voters stayed home. And as I lay out in Project 2027, if Democrats want to win this year, we have to stop governing out of fear and start fighting boldly. And that also means holding our own leaders accountable to the values that we claim to stand for: accountability, the rule of law, and human dignity. And I think that's what separates us from MAGA, where loyalty to power matters more than facts. Voters at the end of the day want honesty and leadership. They're not getting it from this Republican Party. And this is where I think Democrats can win and how we can stay earning the support that we deserve from voters.
Quickly, Ashwani, the president says that Republicans have a lot to run on. What's the messaging for Democrats in the midterms?
He's failed. He's had a full year to make life more affordable. And not only does he now dismiss affordability as a Democratic hoax, he's made things worse. He still has no health care plan. His tariffs have raised the cost of groceries. He's repeatedly shut down the government. And again, voters are seeing that. And that's why his disapproval rating is above 60%.
Colin, your response quickly, sir.
Gas prices, $5 a gallon under President Biden, getting close to under $3 and falling under President Trump. Tax season, it's coming. I know we all don't want to think about April 15th, but when that tax season comes, returns are going to be larger, more money in people's pockets, thanks to that one big beautiful bill that every member of the Democratic Party opposed.
Colin Reed, Ashwani Jain, I thank you both.